Why does adult life seem to move so freaking fast? And how can we make it slow down? Testing 1, 2, 3. Ever since I graduated college, life has just gone by so quickly. I graduated in 2021, over 3 years ago, and that just seems absolutely ridiculous to me. I'm coming up on 4 years out of college, and I spent 4 years in college, and those years in college seem to move a lot slower. I've been asking myself, where does the time go? It's not like I'm not enjoying myself. It's not like I'm in a bad place in life, but I just wish it would slow down a little bit. So I've been doing some thinking. I've been trying to figure out what is making it go by so quickly. I've come up with 4 reasons. There totally could be more, but these are my 4 reasons. Reason number 1, we, perhaps the collective we, pack our time so tightly that it makes it feel like we have less time overall. Reason number 2, there's a lot of unenjoyable tasks in adult life, dealing with insurance, planning a budget, doing specific work tasks. And so often our mindset is, instead of trying to enjoy these tasks for what they are, we're just trying to make it to the end. Reason number 3, we drown ourselves in content, social media, TV, phone games. And this is partially a reaction to what I just said before. We have to do tasks that aren't always enjoyable in adult life. And so we constantly try to escape from those tasks in less than healthy ways. And by cramming so much content into our brains and our time, we leave no time to just observe our surroundings, engage in slower and more nurturing entertainment and activities. And reason number 4, while we're doing all those other things, we're also often living in the past, wishing we could go back to times where we had less responsibilities, back to our childhood, and we're not enjoying our present for what it is, allowing it to reach its full potential. So all of these things, squeezing in responsibilities, just trying to make it to the end of specific tasks, over-consuming content, and dwelling on the past, all of those things distract from the present and make time seem to just pass us by without us even noticing. Knowing what the problem is the first step. But now, how do we make time move slower? And how do we live in the moment practically and as more than just a catchy saying that people like to quote all the time? How do you actually live in the moment? First, I'd like to talk about escapism. We need less escapism and more healthy escapism, or healthier coping skills and healthier ways to take breaks from our work. This first point is something I am so guilty of, and I really need to work on myself, and that is to limit multitasking escapism. So what do I mean by this? When you're doing the dishes and you have to turn on a video or a podcast to make it through doing the dishes, or cleaning your room, or doing some sort of work task that you don't really have to think on that much, so you can put on a video in the background. That's what I'm talking about. Guys, I literally am telling you that I am so guilty of this. I do this all the time. I work from home, first of all, so this allows me to be able to listen to podcasts or videos more often than a person who has to go into work. And yeah, I kind of abuse that ability sometimes. I'm actually in the middle of a bit of a podcast binge right now, so this is a very timely video for me to make. Instead of listening to podcasts or watching videos or listening to audiobooks or whatever while you're doing your work throughout the day, try to just focus on one thing at a time. Just let dishwashing be the time for dishwashing and let your brain fully zone into that task. Try to find the joy of dishwashing. And maybe this isn't a good example for everybody because a lot of people hate dishwashing. It's like the bane of some people's existence. But for me personally, I actually find that when I let myself fully be there, I actually really enjoy the time to just like calm down during my day and enjoy the hot water. And if I just let my brain be fully present, then that space can become a place of rest for my brain amidst my busy work day. I do feel differently about music. I'll talk about that in a little bit. I personally find that if I am like binging a podcast all day, I generally find myself a lot more brain dead by the end of the day, a bit brain foggy. I just find my brain to be pretty exhausted by all of the multitasking and all of the cramming content into it that I did that day. But when I've allowed my brain more space throughout the day, I generally feel more accomplished by the end of the day, more fulfilled, and I feel like my day hasn't just melted away. Like when you're constantly stimulated and distracted by something throughout the day, that's when the day seems to go by so quickly. Now, like I said, I do feel differently about music. I think music allows your brain to have more space than a podcast would or an audiobook. It's still good to give your brain moments of pure silence, no music or anything. So I'm not saying to just drown out all your thoughts in music the entire day. Pay attention to your brain, pay attention to how you're feeling, how your body's feeling, and take a break when you feel like you need to take a break. The next big thing is limit social media escapism. You guys knew I was going to talk about social media in this, of course. Social media is a prime contender for top places that people go to escape. Often this looks like doom scrolling. Who actually enjoys doom scrolling? I feel like most people would admit that they actually kind of hate that, even though it is still hard to stop. When you open that app and you just start scrolling, it is so hard to break that cycle sometimes. You have to admit to yourself that scrolling through Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is usually not what you really want to be doing with your time in that moment, but you still have a hard time pulling yourself away. It's possibly the most lazy and unrewarding form of escapism, if I may be so bold to say. Now, is scrolling on social media always bad? No, it's not. But I do encourage you to scroll with more intention. When you get on Instagram or TikTok, don't just get on it mindlessly to fill time. When you've been working hard on your computer all day and you need a little break, is it really the best break for your mental health to just open up Instagram and start scrolling? Try to be aware of what you're doing, why you're doing it, what you really need in that moment, and how is your action of choice fulfilling or not fulfilling that need. Ask yourself, what does social media do for me? Align your actions on social media with your goal for it. And I think that can really help it become less of a escapist tool. So we've addressed the negative parts of escapism, the negative side of escapism, but there is also a healthier form of escapism. Distractions that are a little bit more nurturing for yourself. Distractions that, yes, they might distract you or give you a needed break from some of your work that day, but they're not going to hurt you. Let's start with reading. I think reading is probably an obvious one. Reading is often seen as a healthier form of escapism. It can get unhealthy. Anything in excess is generally not healthy for you, but reading does stimulate your brain in healthier ways, and it's healthier on your eyes too. Instead of staring at a screen, you're staring at a physical page. I'll even throw in watching TV in this category, watching TV with friends. I find that I actually enjoy TV shows a lot more when I'm watching them with other people, and it's also easier to not binge as much when I am sharing a TV show with somebody else. Exercising. It's another obvious one, but this is another healthier way to give your brain a break throughout the day and maybe limit your need to escape. I like to keep the bar a little bit low because exercising in a full workout, arms one day, legs another day, I find it a little bit harder to keep up routines like that, but my exercise of choice is walking outside. I really, really enjoy just hearing the birds and feeling the sun, letting my mind wander a little bit. And I also enjoy yoga too, in the morning or evening or both. You could also pick up a hobby. These are not super unique ideas, probably pretty obvious, but they're worth reminding you and myself of them. Doing like a little 10-15 minute hobby whenever you need a break from your work is really nice and kind of a breath of fresh air. Something that I'm doing right now is working on spray painting some doll houses. I have this really fun project idea to make some miniature art galleries out of doll houses that I thrifted last year. I am just going outside throughout the day to put another layer of spray paint on. That time is being used for something that is so much more exciting than just catching up with whatever Instagram has to offer. I find that it brings me a lot more fulfillment when I do feel like I'm working towards something that is a project that I want to do. Another form of healthy escapism is to catch up with a friend, call a friend. I will be the first to admit I am horrible at this. I am not really a phone person, so maybe this is an area I could improve in. But if you are that type of person, and if you have some friends that you haven't talked to in a little while, this is a much more soul-filling activity to do with your time than some other forms of escapism. And then, of course, you can also spend time with friends. Maybe you're calling your friends that live out of state, and maybe you're spending time with your friends that live close by. I recently took a Monday morning of all things. Again, I work from home, so I realized that I do have a bit of a more like privileged work position. Mondays, however, are days that I usually try to get more work done. But my friend told me that she would be available on Monday, and it was Sunday when we were talking about this, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. We went swimming and we had a wonderful time, and the rest of the day I just felt so refreshed. I still got work done. I still did pretty much what I needed to do that day, and I felt just much better for spending my time in a more fulfilling way that morning. Think about making memories. Doom scrolling does not make memories, but hanging out with friends does. Live your life instead of escaping from it. Now, I know a lot of escapism happens because we do get really stressed. Lots of things happen in our lives, and sometimes it can be hard to deal with it all. I know that is when escapism gets much easier for me. On my busiest weeks, I am also often binging like reality TV or a podcast or whatever, and like I said before, it just does not make me feel any better. So it takes a little bit more effort than just giving into escapism. But some ways you can deal with that stress is to adopt some healthier coping skills. A therapist could probably talk about this so much more and in better depth than I could, but some of my healthier coping skills include things like journaling every day. I try to be consistent with journaling every morning, 3 pages. Also having conversations with trusted family and friends. Again, it can just be a lot easier and a lot more low effort to drown your worries in a TV show, but something that would probably actually help the situation is to talk with somebody about it. If you're really stressed, talk with somebody or ask for help with whatever you're stressed with. A regular spiritual practice can be something that really helps manage those stress levels and helps limit your need for escapism. For some people, this may look like a daily devotional in the morning. For others, this may look like a walk every day, a meditation practice. Focusing on God, focusing on your spiritual life can really help put things in perspective and help you to not get too lost in all those stressful little details. Another very potent tool of dealing with stress is to just take 20 minutes a day and be completely silent. I've actually wanted to adopt it into my life every day. I haven't achieved that yet, but I think it would be ideally a really good thing to have every day. Go outside, sit down on the grass, touch grass, it's good for you, and just be silent and kind of lose yourself in the beautiful nature around you. This is a really, really grounding and centering experience, and it calms your nervous system. One more thing that can really help limit your need for unhealthy escapism is to add more inspiration into your life. Often we just go to our job every day, come back, eat, sleep, scroll on Instagram, watch a TV show, and repeat the next day. We don't add things that give us personally purpose throughout our day, beside maybe the career we're involved in, the job we go to. And maybe you even really like your job, and maybe it gives you a sense of purpose. But I personally believe that we need to also figure out what our own personal purpose is in this life and work towards that. I love what I do. I love Passionfroot. This is my main job, but I am not truly fulfilled unless I am working on my own art career as well. That is where my passion just really fully, truly lies. When I try to spend just a small amount of time per day on my art, it really adds that excitement and inspiration into my life that I need to enjoy my life more. I highly recommend finding a passion project, a sense of purpose, a hobby that brings you joy, something that you are creating, and adding that to your daily life and see what kind of a difference it makes. The ultimate goal here is for us to be thriving and not just surviving and disassociating from our lives. Because when we do that, when we're just trying to make it from day to day, that is when time really seems to go by quickly. So now that we've very thoroughly covered escapism, let's talk about enjoying tasks. Those things like dishwashing and annoying work projects that you do have to deal with as a human, as an adult. How can we enjoy those? The repetitive ones, the daunting ones, the menial ones. Try to enjoy these tasks for what they are. Let's take dishwashing as an example. I wash all my dishes by hand because I find that the dishwasher sucks. It isn't something I always love to do. Those dishes do have a habit of piling up in the sink, but once I actually get over there, turn on the hot water, I actually find myself enjoying that time to give my brain a full break and just focus on the task at hand. And even though it may not be always what I really want to be doing in that moment, I enjoy the hot water. I enjoy that repetitive task that allows my mind to wander, find the joy that there is to find in your housework or like yard work, like mowing the lawn. Maybe mowing the lawn is not really fun. It's hard work. It can be really hot outside, but maybe you start to discover that you enjoy the smell of fresh cut grass, or you enjoy the workout that it provides. There are things to enjoy about these tasks that we do. Now, there are things we have to do that are just kind of all around unpleasant, not fun. Another example from my life, my car broke down about a month ago. For the very first time in my life, I had to find a car and buy it. So stressful. So, did I enjoy this activity? No, it kind of sucked and it was very inconvenient, but I did learn a lot from that process. I can appreciate that learning opportunity because car buying is something that I'm going to have to do again. So when you find yourself faced with a difficult task that you really don't want to do, at least ask yourself, what is this teaching me in this moment? What can I learn from this and how can I grow from this? And see if you can find any gratitude in your heart for that season of life that you're going through. Another technique for trying to enjoy those tasks that you have to do as adults is to create pleasant spaces for doing them. Let's say it's tax season and you have to file your taxes. I know very few people that enjoy doing this, but instead of letting that whole activity just be grueling and annoying and nothing fun about it, you can at least take control over the space in which you have to do it. Clean your work area for your mind to think a little bit clearer. Light some candles, grab some tea, maybe play some soft jazz in the background, and then at the very least, when you get down to work and you're doing your taxes, you have a pleasant environment to do that work in. So we talked about escapism. We talked about trying to actually enjoy daily tasks. Now there's one more thing that I would like to talk about that helps us fully enjoy our time, fully live in the moment, and helps life to slow down a little bit. And that last piece of advice is to notice and celebrate everything. I read this book once. My class read it when I was in, I want to say, kindergarten or first grade. And it was called I'm in Charge of Celebrations by Bird Baylor. It's about this girl that celebrates everything. The back of the book has an excerpt from within the book, and it says, "Last year, I gave myself 108 celebrations, besides the ones they close school for." And I remember reading that book and being so inspired, and it was just so exciting because as a kid, you experience that sadness after your birthday is over or after Christmas is over, and you're like, I want to celebrate more, and the next holiday is so far away. I remember experiencing that sadness as a kid, but I remember this book making me feel like life could just be about celebrations. And that may sound unrealistic. That may sound a little bit delusional, but I think it's actually 100% true. Life is about work. Like, life is about doing things that you don't always want to do. Life is about paying your bills and going to work. Sometimes you gotta suck it up and get it done. But as I've said in this video before, I do believe you can actually find real enjoyment in those daily tasks. And I think when we start to notice things more, it becomes easier to celebrate. Life is meant to be enjoyed. I believe we were created to enjoy life. I like to believe in the creation story and God as a creator, as an artist. And he put a lot of time and creativity and love into creating a beautiful world for our enjoyment. Food that tastes good to eat, food that is enjoyable to eat, nature that is beautiful to look at and to listen to. I really do think life is just supposed to be so much more than just working to make a living. So when you start taking that mindset that life is meant for our enjoyment, it does become easier to celebrate that. Celebrations are not these fun, frivolous things that we can live without to be more financially conscious or conscious with our time. I think these are some things that we internalize, and we think that we should limit our enjoyment because it's not the smart choice to make, but it is the vital choice to make to enjoy life. Because what is a better way to live than to enjoy the life we have? As I said, all celebrations, big and small, begin with noticing, with paying attention. So make it a point in your life to pay more attention as you move throughout it. Pay attention to the smallest details and be thankful for them. So to wrap up, in adult life, there are a lot of tasks that we don't necessarily want to do. So it can be tempting to just turn off your brain or distract it through those tasks. But by doing this, you are robbing yourself of the potential enjoyment, satisfaction, and appreciation for growth that can come from those things. I challenge you to reorient your mindset. You don't need to always distract yourself through everyday challenges and menial tasks. And remember, everything in moderation. I'm not saying you have to just cut out TV shows, stop listening to podcasts, stop scrolling on social media, delete all your social media. I'm not saying those things. And I'm also not saying that you or I are expected to be perfectly balanced in our consumption of media from now on. One small step I do encourage you to take is to start paying attention to the state of your mind and body. If you're doing this, you can tell when your escapism is not serving you anymore, when it's making you feel much worse than you would feel otherwise. When this happens, pull yourself away from whatever that escape of choice is and give yourself the gift of silence, or the gift of a walk outside, or 20 minutes sitting and listening. Remember that there is enjoyment to be found in daily tasks, and also remember that one of the best ways to feel fulfilled and to enjoy the time you have is to live a purpose-filled life. Find those projects that inspire you and those communities that inspire you, and really lean into them. And our biggest goal on this channel is to help you on your journey of pursuing purpose by sharing our own journeys. So if that sounds like something you're wanting to pursue in your own life, give us a follow, subscribe to our channel, and let's all grow together.